Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Joe Palmer begins now.
Good evening, everyone. Dangerous fire conditions are starting to ease across Tasmania tonight, following a day of communities and fire crews on high alert. A blaze burning north of Bothwell has continued to grow in size, and winds fanned other bushfires near the Derwent Valley. Our crews are on the ground in those key locations. Tonight, Garth Burley in the Central Highlands and Ruby Kermain is at New Norfolk. First to Garth. Good evening, Garth. Are conditions starting to ease there?
Good evening, Joe. Well, fortunately, the wind has eased this afternoon. It's been blowing this afternoon all across this region, but now it's finally eased, fortunately for fire crews. The blaze has burned through hundreds of hectares of bushland, edging closer towards homes. And tonight we have new vision of the blaze from the air. Let's take a look. From the air, the scale of uncontrolled bushfire in the Central Highlands becomes clear. On the ground, flames burn through dense bushland as crews navigate rugged terrain. The fire on Denniston Road near Bothwell already tearing through 600 hectares of land. This area is remote, but shacks remain at risk.
Everyone we've spoken to is willing to stay and defend their property. The properties that we've been to have got areas where they can see a fire front coming if they need to, and they're in a position to defend them.
Special firefighting planes scooping up water from a nearby source, taking off again to douse part of the blaze. Overnight, the fire dying down, but it remained at a watch and act level today.
Any fire, I think you're pretty concerned about. Like we're doing it pretty tough as it is. We're staring down a barrel of a drought, so a fire's just something that we don't really want on our hands as well.
Those on the land preparing for the worst.
We've just filled the gutters, got prepared, got the water tanks full, ready to go.
Waiting in the warm and windy conditions with ember attacks threatening properties. Here on the edge of the fire in remote bushland, scrub is burning slowly. Conditions are relatively calm at the moment, but the concern is that the weather could worsen later on.
Concern is getting on the mountains. What is here? And that'll be the ember attack.
This afternoon, authorities say the fire took a run to the south.
Hopefully, if the wind does die down, and it seems to have died off a little bit this afternoon, then that'll put us in a better position to continue to strengthen those containment lines throughout the weekend and into next week. Confirming 2 outbuildings and a vehicle were damaged yesterday, but now conditions are easing. We are expecting some rain with that, not a great deal, but hopefully up to about 5 millimetres. So that should have some impact over those fire grounds. Saying across the state today, some new smaller fires did start, but were quickly put out by local crews. But the fight is far from over. The fire service issuing this warning. If their properties aren't well prepared and they don't feel confident in being able to defend them, if the fire does take a run, then they need to evacuate well and truly before the fire does in fact impact their property. So leave early is the message. Garth Burley, 7 Tasmania News.
We now turn our attention to the situation in the Derwent Valley. Ruby, good evening. The wind peaked up there this afternoon.
It sure did, Joe. As predicted, the gusty weather did gain some momentum, causing more trouble for the local crews. The hot and windy weather caused spot fires across the hills of Lachlan here at the Derwent Valley. Firefighters really had a tough job, also battling a blaze that broke out nearby at Glenfern on Tuesday. That was upgraded to watch and act this afternoon. That warning remains tonight. Authorities say residents living in and the surrounding areas must stay vigilant. You could really see the smoke pluming from the thick forest as water bombers honed in to try and dampen the conditions. Similar action was taken at a blaze a little further north at Eldersley, which remains at advice level. The main road into Glenfern was closed off to vehicles this afternoon to prevent the public from accessing the dangerous area. We spoke to the local fire brigade earlier about today's blazes.
It's a lot windier today than it was yesterday. It's pretty windy right up the top where we were yesterday, so hopefully it doesn't blow too much more and we should be good. A lot of them are in the burnt area, so we're just sort of monitoring them and see how we go.
Now, the Tasmania Fire Service says despite the warm weather today, there haven't been any significant new fire starts across the state. And Joe, there is a little bit of rain predicted coming our way tonight, so hopefully that brings some relief to our firefighters still out in the field.
Absolutely, let's hope it does rain. Thank you very much for that, Ruby Kamain joining us there. Well, the early bushfire breakouts have sparked fears this is the new normal for Tasmania. The government says spring winds can bring higher dangers, but some experts are saying it's a sign of climate change.
We're just a day into November, but Tasmania's already grappling with an early start to bushfire season. Above average temperatures and strong winds creating dangerous conditions this week, with warnings this is the new normal.
It has the fingerprints of climate change. It's not the individual events, it's not the individual event, it's the pattern. There's so much clustering of extreme fire weather.
This hot spell has been record-breaking. Ooze reached 32 degrees yesterday, the highest October temperature ever recorded there.
About a 5 to 6 month bushfire season, when it's normally about 6 to 8 weeks. So that's the reality of this year. I guess if it is the new normal, we need to prepare for that for the future.
The early breakout stretching the availability of fire service volunteers.
Kids are still at school, so people have got responsibilities for looking after their children and so on and so forth, so our resources have been quite stretched.
The Emergency Management Minister says crews are prepared for spring fires.
The Chief Fire Officer indicated at a briefing the other day that due to high winds this time of the year, the equinoctial winds that's typically in Tasmania, we can have October fires.
John Hunt, 7 Tasmania News.
Police have described a fatal motorcycle crash along the Bass Highway this morning as confronting and something you never want to see. A Victorian woman died at the scene and 4 others have been taken to hospital.
What's left of an horrific scene. Emergency authorities responding to a fatal crash along the Bass Highway near Wynyard, involving 4 motorbikes and a car. A 56-year-old woman had been pronounced dead. The Victorian had just arrived on the Spirit of Tasmania with plans to travel around the state on her motorbike with 3 other people. It's believed the deceased was travelling towards Smithton just after 9 a.m. this morning when she veered onto the wrong side of the road, colliding head-on with a Kia station wagon.
It was a confronting scene for those people that were there, whether it be family, friends or members of the emergency services. It's certainly not a pleasant situation for those people to be in.
The driver of the car, a 65-year-old man from Queensland, was taken to Northwest Regional Hospital along with the 3 motorcyclists, all with non-life-threatening injuries. The crash, a sobering reminder to all motorists to be vigilant.
We need to be aware that motorcycle users are some of the more vulnerable road users on our roads, and just ask to make sure they're not only aware of their own actions when they're riding, but also to be aware of other road users and their positions on the road.
Police are yet to determine why the motorcyclist crossed onto the other side of the road, but suspect inattention may be to blame. Investigations are continuing to find the cause. Elizabeth O'Neill, 7 Tasmania News.
A coroner has deemed a 2017 double fatality east of Hobart preventable, revealing the driver was more than double the legal blood alcohol limit at the time. Anna Jane Roberts and Brett John Stanley, both in their 40s, died in the Lauderdale crash. Handing down findings today, coroner Olivia McTaggart said Mr Stanley was driving when his car veered off the road before crashing head-on into an oncoming vehicle, saying the main reason for his loss of control was a combination of excessive alcohol and cannabis intoxication. She made no recommendations. One of Tasmania's most under-pressure national parks is receiving some upgrades to help deal with the visitor influx. Freycinet is receiving $10 million to improve visitor access and add a new lookout and foreshore walk.
The picturesque Freycinet National Park is one of the East Coast's biggest tourism drawcards. The area is set to receive major upgrades with a funding partnership announced between the state and federal governments.
The total funding envelope's around $10.8 million, and with that, we will deliver what I think will be an outstanding visitor experience.
Funds earmarked for vital upgrades to the area, with projects including a new Wineglass Bay lookout, a Coles Bay foreshore walk and Aboriginal education initiatives.
There's money going towards an Aboriginal Discovery Ranger program, so that will be programs run for the community as well as for our visitors here at Freycinet over the summer period.
All infrastructure that is critically important to making sure this attraction, this wonderful part of Tasmania, is so much more accessible and provides a great visitor experience to those who come here.
It's hoped that these new additions will attract more interstate and international visitors, with the hopes that even Thor himself will make an appearance, after receiving an invitation from a Tasmanian senator.
When I put in a plug for Tasmania to Chris Hemsworth, I said there are spectacular locations he would be very, very pleased to see. And by bringing someone who is of such international popularity to places like this, we put Tassie on the map.
The works are part of a long-term master plan for the region, with infrastructure planning commencing immediately. Ebony Ablett, 7 Tasmania News.
New data released by Tasmania Police has shown another spike in crimes such as offensive behaviour and robbery across the state. The information also shows increasing police response times, with authorities hoping to rectify the situation, with 125 new police officers to be added to the force by 2020.
United in the fight against crime, Tasmania Police representatives and the government banding together, announcing an additional 125 police officers for our frontline services.
109 of the 125 will be allocated to the first responding police stations, regional and rural police stations right across Tasmania community to keep Tasmanians safe.
Due to be deployed by the end of 2022, it's hoped they'll bolster the force's numbers in areas of greatest need.
What's important here is that 109 of the new 125 police officers will go to frontline policing stations around the state. That's 77 to city stations and 32 to country police stations.
We've worked closely with the Police Association too to make sure we get the allocation as close as we can to being equitably distributed across the state.
This announcement coming as new crime data for the month of August show increases in crimes like robbery compared with last year. Average response times for high priority incidents also increasing by more than 10 minutes in the Northern District, while they're up in other districts too.
It's a matter of going through a number of issues, how we allocate police numbers, that including police officer safety, it's including crime rates, it's including population growth, it's including socio-economic issues as well.
Officers will also go to areas like drug task forces and special operations. Ebony Ablett, 7 Tasmania News.
Victoria will head into day 3 of their Sheffield Shield clash with Tasmania at Blunston Arena, leading by 63 runs in what's shaping up as a close contest. Meanwhile, the Tassie Tigers men's side will be able to build some serious momentum at home this weekend, approaching their Hockey One finals campaign.
Following a solid effort at the crease on the opening day of play, Matthew Wade started things off on a similar vein on day 2. Peter Siddle bringing the Tasmanians' run to an end on 69, with paceman Alex Pycroft coming unstuck on a duck soon after. Fellow quick Jackson Bird proving an unlikely saviour with the bat, combining with Jake Doran as the pair belted a string of boundaries to see the Tigers along to a 226-run first innings total. Bird then doing his bit with the ball, claiming Bushrangers opener Travis Dean in the 4th over, before Gabe Bell sent Will Pukowski packing on 7. Marcus Harris and Peter Hanscom wouldn't prove as easy to dismiss as the pair settled in to give the visitors a fighting chance heading into day 3. Meanwhile, a packed house is expected at the Tasmanian Hockey Centre tomorrow for the Tassie Tigers' final regular season clash against Western Australia, as the men's side look to build some confidence ahead of their Hockey One finals campaign.
We want to go into the finals on a high and playing well, so the worst thing that can happen is obviously if we come out here, lose to WA, then go in against a strong opposition next week. So we obviously want to take that momentum through it.
While women's player Hannah Richardson says the bulk of the squad will return next year, despite the side losing every game to date in the tournament, as they look to close out their season on the right note.
We're finding that we're having some quarters where we're playing really well, and then we're having some lapses, which is what's let us down a little bit over the last few games. So if we can put all 4 quarters together, then I think that'll help us get the result we need.
And it could be a life-changing day for Tasmanian horse trainer Scott Brunton tomorrow, with the inevitable set to start as one of the favourites from Barrier 3 in the $7.5 million Golden Eagle at Rose Hill. At 430 kilograms, the 4-year-old gelding will be the smallest horse in tomorrow's field, but having won 8 of his last 10 starts, the inevitable will be out to prove that size is no barrier. Golden Eagle Stakes Day is live and free here on 7 Tasmania from midday.
We had a warm and mostly cloud-free morning today, with cloud developing and a rain band moving in from the west through the afternoon. Hobart reached 33 degrees, Launceston 28, Burnie 25, Devonport 24. Maximums were all well above average today, with the state's high of 34 recorded at Friendly Beaches. Flinders Island 33, Grove 32, St Helens 31, Ouse and Strawn both reached 30 degrees today, King Island 28, Maria Island 27, Smithton 25, Low Head and Laowini both 22. From the satellite, we can see that cloud band moving in from the west with thunderstorm activity in the southeast. Zooming out, that band extends from central WA. Low cloud sat over the southwest of the mainland today, with some convective cloud about the Kimberley and the top end. Moving on to tomorrow, and the chart shows a cold front over our state with a low over the southern bight. A slow-moving high in the Tasman extends a ridge along the Queensland coast. On the waters, winds northeast to northwesterly, reaching 30 knots about the northeast early, though variable about the north and south. Seas mostly 1 to 2 metres. There is a strong wind warning in place for northeastern coastal waters between Flinders Island and Wineglass Bay. Rain forecast across the state tomorrow. Hobart looking at a top of 24 degrees, Medina and Oatlands both 20, Launceston 21, Devonport 18, Laowini 16 tomorrow. Burnie a top of 18 degrees, Strawn 19, Marrawar 17. A top of 23 expected at both St Helens and Swansea, Orford 22. UV already high with 8s and 9s across the state tomorrow. Looking briefly ahead to Sunday now, with showers about the west extending statewide through the day. Monday, showers initially about the west and south before spreading to the rest of the state in the afternoon. And Tuesday mostly fine in the morning, with showers developing across much of the state in the afternoon. Now taking a look further north tomorrow, smoke haze lingering over Sydney, showers for Perth, Adelaide and Brisbane, with storms forecast for Melbourne and Darwin. And finally, let's take a look at the current conditions across the state. And with that, Jo, it's back to you.
Britt, thank you so much for that. And that's all from the team for now. We'll see you throughout the evening with updates. Bye-bye.